Hello and welcome everyone to the business Q&A sessions with Meeta and Tosh. Hi Tosh, I'm back.
Where have you been, Meeta? I mean, this is unacceptable, just thinking you can come and go as you please, you know?
Do you know what? I'm glad we're doing a talk about attitudes for people leaders and people managers, because I made the decision to practice what I preach. I encourage all of our people to take downtime because of the headspace it creates. And I took a week off, and I actually took a whole proper week of downtime. So I will share my findings in our conversations today, because it was pretty mind-blowing, actually.
That must come to one of the subjects which you're talking about, which is about how to think like a leader, and you can't beat it. Sounds like silly. It sounds silly. Do nothing. Yeah. You'd be surprised what comes to you in that space when you get the headspace to do it and stop all the static. So yeah, we'll definitely be covering that. So where were you? Half term, right?
Yeah, really exciting at home, and then one overnight stay in Brighton. But you know, the world is opening up, the economy is moving, people's attitudes are shifting. You know, the fear is diminishing. So, you know, we started these Q&A sessions back at the beginning of the lockdown, and I feel like everyone who's been attending has been on a journey. We've had something like 500 different organizations attend over the year and a half now, and we've got some real regulars, and we've got new people coming along all the time. And you know, Tosh, you always say that we just want to spread good and do good, and I love what you did last week, and I love what we're doing this week, which is not necessarily a specific people issue, but actually going way before the issue arises, which is, as leaders, how can you ensure that some of these problems don't arise by having the right mindset going into challenges, right?
And in fact, today's thing, Meeta, isn't just for the leaders. You could be an employee, you can be a manager, you can be whatever level, all the way up. You know, we said employee to CEO, and obviously it makes sense, right? If you're controlling what's going on here and the way you're looking at things and your the lens you look through it in life, it can absolutely change things dramatically. Rather than taking responsibility for your life and what you can do, rather than thinking, oh, there's other outside factors and all those sorts of things. That's what we kind of want to start talking about today, right?
Yeah, well, we're 30 to 40 minutes as always. We love it to be interactive. So we have a chat box here on the right. As always, if you are feeling shy and don't want to make a comment in here, then you can always reach out to Tosh and I afterwards. We send a recording of this session, and I'm just doing a quick hello to show you how easy it is to say hi on the chat box. And also our contact details are there. So Tosh and I are on LinkedIn, we're on all the social media, emails. We even speak to our clients on WhatsApp, don't we, Tosh? Because so easy to access after whatever your needs might be.
Yeah, just take it offline. Don't feel, if you've got a bigger situation than what we're talking about. Otherwise, look, let us have your challenges. Let us know what problems you're facing right now as we talk through the topics. You know, if you've been here before, you know what we do. We promise to answer every single question that you have, every single one of them during this live session. And if somehow, and it's only happened once or twice in the year we've done it, we somehow do run out of time, because I say we're going to finish by 22 at the latest, then we will do a follow-up video to go through the questions and answer everything for you. But otherwise, put it in the chat. Please put it in the chat. You know, we are here to serve you, to help you guys with all the problems you're facing. And how do we know those things? Because we are also going through them. Our clients are also going through those things. Yeah. You know, we read the news. We find out things that matter to you, and we're constantly trying to tailor it to, what you guys need.
Yeah. And so for that reason, we always like to get a measure of what's going on in your world, and we always do a poll. And this week, we are bringing
that's my cue this time. I did it this time, right?
You know, everything we talk about and read about is the challenge. In Brighton, we couldn't get tables at a restaurant, not because the restaurants were closed, because it didn't have enough workforce. You know, there's a massive skills shortage coming. There's a massive shortage of people in the country. Brexit and the pandemic have impacted organizations. Yes, it's starting with hospitality and retail, but it's going to feed into everyone's world. So really thinking about your employees, your talent journey of your organization, it's key. So the poll this week is all around, when you are recruiting and attracting talent into your organization, what is most important to you? Is it skills? Is it, can they do the job? Is it attitude? The fact that they can actually, whether they can or can't do it, they've got a mindset to overcome challenges. Or is it that they're like-minded thinkers, and because they're like-minded thinkers, they're adding value even before they've learned the job? So we really appreciate you guys. We know there's a few jumped in, so you can have a look at that poll and give us your thoughts. that would be great. And then what we're going to do is share these results at the end, because next week's session is all around how to recruit for success and retention.
And I just want to add to that. This is not a pitch. This conversation came about because Meeta and I were talking about, what is the number one thing that most business owners or managers talk about when they're trying to grow a business? Just can't find the right people. And what are the processes you follow? And I know you would have heard about things about attitudes and all those sorts of things, but actually Meeta and I are going to go through mapping out a really detailed way to make you understand what you need to now do to find the right people. And it involves a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and just, really understanding intrinsically what motivates people so they're aligned at the beginning. So we'll be going through that with you next week. So, please, it's a not to miss that one, because we're really going to map it out for you exactly. I'm going to put you in Meeta's head, quite frankly, and you're going to know exactly how she does, how she does the magic she does, right? That's what we want to do with you.
And it's interesting. You and I were talking because we did some work for you, and you said, I never saw it this way before. And I said, but we talked about it. But people have to be ready to receive the information and understand how that fits into their own strategic organizational plans. And it's not, you used that word tree hugger with me earlier because I was looking at rather than business. But listen, we spend more time in our heads, spend more time at work and physically than we do at home with our loved ones. And really, this is our world, isn't it? And if this is winning, everything else is winning. So it really is important to make sure that you've got the right approach to the talent in your organization, because it's make or break. You'll see
the fly camera afterwards for next week. Look, join us next week. If you're having issues with getting the right people for your business, I'm going to put it out there. I know Meeta just said it, you've got to be ready to receive it. I'm going to force you to receive it. So it's just going to be such tremendous value to you. And the penny dropped with me for some reason. This last week or so on recruitment, something, and I saw it in a way I never saw it before, and I really want us to share that with you. So that's that. What are we doing today, Meeta? So let's go through what are the takeaways by the end of today's session. So the title is From Employee to CEO, 5 Top Tips to Make Your Attitude Your Ally. What are the 5 top tips we're going to go through during this session?
Well, first of all, we're going to see if anyone spotted the typo that says how to turn victory into defeat. No way.
How negative of you. How negative of you.
How to turn defeat into victory is our number 1 area we're going to cover.
Yeah.
Number 2, magic of thinking big. Number 3, how to use goals to help you grow. Number 4, how to get the action habit. And number 5, how to think like a leader. So, Tosh, you and I have got 5 topics, probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So I think that's 5 minutes a topic.
Pretty much. And just so you know, the ideas for a lot of this topic came from this little bad boy. Is it backwards? Is it backwards here? I don't know.
No,
it's a bit worn. It's well used, you can see, right? So it comes from that book there, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. We're not turning this to a book club or anything. There was just such a lot of information that Meeta and I were discussing about, and we thought, look, we can apply this to our businesses. What about, you as an audience as well? It'd be really useful. So we're going to go through that. Please, please, please participate, because we can answer some questions for you that you're thinking right now. Don't be shy about it. So we'll go through it. So we have a quick look at the poll now, and then at the end, Meeta.
So currently attitude is 50%, skills are 25%, and cultural fit is 25%. And that pleases me, because I'm a big believer that attitude and culture count for 80% of the success of someone in an organization. You can teach skills, you can't teach attitude, right?
Yep.
So, but if we're going to bring this back to today, we're talking all about attitude and fit for us as employees or business leaders, because, there's that favorite phrase of mine, which is failure is not the opposite of success, is part of the journey to success. And we are, in the last year, I think everyone has had defeat all around them, whether it's a drop in sales, whether it's losing people in your business, whether it's losing teammates. We are surrounded by defeat. And actually, you spoke about how we reframe and focus negatives. I think the pandemic has been a worldwide reframe. People have been stuck at home, lost jobs, and yet what they're realizing is they got to spend time with their loved ones. I know people have lost loved ones, so I don't want to be flippant about it, but within the challenge, people are finding ways to see this as there are positive outcomes from this very challenging time. And it's that process which we can apply all the time in our world.
I'm looking at it from a business point of view, right? From that, rather than the personal situations of what it is. And And you know what? A lot of this is a little bit like letting your mood be decided by the weather, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, you can't.
But whether it's business or personal, it's the same attitude in the head. That's what I'm saying, is that actually everyone has it in them because they've already started doing it in life. And if you apply that into your working world, it's the same process.
Yeah, no, sure. But I guess what I'm saying, my focus from a work side of view is like, you know, with the COVID, it affected your business. Of course it did. But what are you going to do there? Sit there and blame COVID? As I say, it's a bit like blaming the weather for your mood. I appreciate it can affect it, but you can decide that. You know, you can decide whether that's going to control, or you've got no control of those things. So don't let it control you. Decide, you know, what you can do to change your mood, to decide how you're going to handle it. And actually, COVID became an opportunity, a series of opportunities for so many different people. And once they flipped that on its head from it being a problem into a challenge that you have to overcome, that changed a lot of things. So in terms of the defeat, turning defeat into victory, it's really about learning lessons properly. You know, this is not a new message. You know, you would have seen these adverts or from, gosh, I've forgotten his name now, Michael Jordan. You know, he always talking about learning from his successes from all the millions of failures he succeeded. But actually, it's a bit more than just failure. It didn't just fail and then succeed. It's about really learning about that process. What have you learned from that failure? Dissect it. There's a phrase that came in from the book Meeta, which I just wanted to share very quickly, which was, it's a little bit like, you know, that's just the way the ball bounces. You know, it's an accident, it just happens, coincidence. Well, actually, there is no such thing. You know, if a ball bounces, it depends on the texture of the ball. It depends how you throw it. That's determined. It depends on how it strikes the surface and what kind of surface it is. All those different factors will determine how the ball bounces, which means there's no accidents. There's always some story behind it that has led to the outcome that's happened. When you look at life in that way, and you can look at the different factors that have led to it, maybe you can have a different outcome. I appreciate that. That looking at it that way really does change what you can do, because there's something you can do something about that.
Yeah, and you know, you and I can throw statements and phrases and all of that out. And again, if the penny doesn't drop for someone, it's hard for them to take an action like, oh, just you know, be more positive or just reframe. But actually, for me, what really helped me with this was acknowledging that my business, my success, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year, it's a road. You know, I'm a visual person, so I can visualize much better, and that helps me deal with failure better. And that is that, you know, this isn't a cliff edge. You know, just because one thing doesn't happen doesn't mean that's the end. We are on a long road, and once we understand that actually this road can be windy, it can be rocky, but ultimately we can move past that point and get back on track, then it gives us because I think control is a big thing for many people. And if we can't sometimes control outcomes, what we realize is that we can control our approach to it. And knowing that, pardon?
Spot on.
Yeah, it's seeing our journey as a road rather than a cliff edge. And I think that allows us to see that there's always a chance, even if we're in the middle of a defeat, there is always a chance to turn that into a victory from the learning lessons. But this is such a big, what we're covering in 5 minutes per subject could be done 5 days per subject, because it is a mindset shift. But hopefully what we want people to get from today is to know that if this is something that resonates with you, there is more for you to be able to.
And we're telling you the resources as well. You know, the information is out there. But I just want to pick on something you just said now, which was, it's not just about positive thinking. It's not. Oh, I will win, so that means I will win. You know, or something silly like that. We're not suggesting that for a minute. The analogy I would give are boxers for a boxing match. Nobody goes into the boxing match saying, "Oh, the other guy's better than me. I'll probably lose." They're both positive. They're going to win. And they get their mindset into that way, and they've trained super hard. But ultimately, unless it's a draw, obviously, one of them is going to win. Does the boxer that lost, is that the end then? No, they regroup. They watch the fight again. They learn from the mistakes. They train harder. They get up earlier. They eat their food. Whatever they need to do to get that title the next time round is what they then do to then, you know, do the turnaround, and the champion that lost the crown gets the crown back again. So it's not that you're just going to make it happen. It's understanding I had this attitude. This is the outcome. What do I need to do now to get this outcome? So don't let it. We all have our moments. Nobody's suggesting you become some sort of a robot with no feelings about certain things. But if it's a negative one, don't stay there. Start to get into a mindset where you're understanding what you need to do. And the way to do that actually is to surround yourself with those types of people as well. You know what they say is, surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're the sixth one. Surround yourself with, 5 philosophers, you'll be the sixth one. Surround yourself with 5 idiots, guess what? I don't need to finish that sentence. So immerse yourself with that kind of environment. You start to become that way and start to think that way as well. It's a game changer, actually.
It is, and I think it's the beginning of the intention. You set the intention, everything will start to flow. And I'm glad it's top of the list, because that's where it all starts, isn't it? You're on your road, you've got your vision of the journey. It's going to be bumpy along the way, a bit like turbulence on a plane, but you're getting to your destination.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the key one, isn't it? They're all kind of linked, really, but understand how to make the things that they're not failures, they're lessons to make use. I'm not saying don't learn from your successes as well, obviously. But there's a real way that you can make this work for you.
Absolutely, and I know you've been reading that book, and I am not necessarily someone who sits down and reads. I used to. Fell pregnant with my son 17 years ago. Can't sit and read a book anymore, but I do Audible. I walk and I listen. I have mentors and I have coaches, and for you can have, and that's something I've been doing a lot more now, is coaching people. And where they think they're surviving, we want to get them to thriving. There's always room to improve. And one of the tips that I think is really powerful, I actually learned it from a lady called Charlotte. We were doing a mental health webinar for CEOs, and how difficult this time has been was around reflection. So she said that if you do 10 minutes of reflecting by writing down how you think today went or yesterday went, over a period of 10 days, you will become 20% more productive. That's crazy. And I have to confess, I haven't started it yet. So that is my mission. And I think I'm going to record it and do a little video diary of it so that I can hold myself accountable to it as well.
I mean, I don't know about you, Meeta. I'm fascinated with psychology. I'm fascinated with the way that people think, the way that they tick. If you get that, and I'm not suggesting you become a scientist in it, but if you really get your mind into that sort of way of thinking about stuff, whatever your profession, it's going to absolutely be beneficial to you. Understand whether you're a sales guy, whether you're just persuading for investors for something, or whether you're getting fundraising, or whatever your industry is, or what your activities are. Understanding what matters to people and how you can influence them. I don't mean that in some sort of manipulation sort of way. Just understanding what matters and it's authentic. It really makes a difference.
I'm smiling because I've got the analogy of Harvey Specter from Suits, and actually takes us on to the next topic of the magic of thinking big. Sorry, what did you say?
I said I've been called Harvey. I don't know if it's a compliment or a cross.
Harvey doesn't fix the problem. He understands the people and what their objectives are that they want, the outcome that they want. And so when you start to realize that you are dealing with humans, they have got attitudes and opinions. And actually, if you can fulfill those, then the problem's solved anyway. And that's what this is about. We're moving on to the next thing about the magic of thinking big, is that to look at your world. It's funny because I was looking on LinkedIn today, and Brewdog posted a little orange chair. I don't know if you guys follow Brewdog. They were on Dragon's Den, and they weren't given any backing. They set out on their own, and they posted a little £10 IKEA chair because that was the chair they sat on when they had nothing. And they talk about, if you think small and you behave small, you get big. Whereas if you think big and act big, you'll fail. And I thought, God, but isn't that the opposite of what we think is the right way to do things? So what I would say here is that for me, and I don't know what you take from this, but for me, the magic of thinking big is that one person can have a huge impact on people. Just because we are one doesn't mean our impact is one-to-one. We can influence millions, tens, thousands, but whoever we want to engage with and facilitate, we can do that. And that's really about your organizations or your teams or whatever it is. It's thinking about the impact you have to empower, support, and ultimately grow your world, right? I mean, that's what we're here to do, isn't it? Whether you're an employee, manager, or business leader.
I think it's, I'm not suggesting this in any unrealistic way. It's better to aim high and miss than to aim low and hit. Those kind of phrases are really representative of understanding that, the way you talk to yourself is the way that your brain is wired to then action out what you've kind of visualized. I don't want to get too hippie about it, but it really is that you start to, when you start to visualize it and start to think about it and start to use different dialogue about how we can do this, how you can do that, and then you back that up with action, because knowledge isn't power, execution is. That thinking in that way really changes everything. When I started the business, guess what I did when I started Astute Law 10 years ago? I just gave myself a busier job. And it was only because I thought I'm good at it. I'm really good at it. And I want to do this on my own. But I just gave myself a busier job plus some. I became a lawyer and a secretary and all the other things. Guess what? I had to change my thinking. It's not a job anymore. And then you have to start working on the business. Then you start to recruit people. Then you realize you can spread your message through your people. You can't do it alone. So it's so many different ways of thinking. What's your target to get this year? Is it 100,000? Why is it not 1 million? Why is it not 17? Whatever you wire your brain towards is what you're going to end up doing. That means in your marriage, that means your relationships, that means in your business, all those sorts of things. It really depends how you want to talk to yourself and what you want to create.
Yeah, and we have to have the story and the approach right in our own heads, because I remember when I bought the main group, so I've been at the main group 20 years, but I bought it out 10 years ago. Funny that we are both 10 years in this year. And the first thing I did, we spoke about surrounding ourselves with people, is I got myself a board of experts. I got the best trainer I could find. I got the most experienced person in recruitment and talent consultancy I could find. And my mentor at that time, Crawford, is a Cranfield culture graduate. So he did an MBA from Cranfield, which was all around culture. And we spoke about the fact that if I am a leader and it's all on me and everything is here, this is how far my impact will go. But if I empower each of my 5 people, all of a sudden that's 5, that's 25, and so on and so on. So really it is about thinking big, isn't just thinking, yes, I can achieve this because I've got more people, but it's sharing and empowering and influencing them to take that message forward, isn't it? That's what that's about. And
I think it's important I agree with you. And I think it's important to understand how you start to think like that, because it isn't like a light switch. The way that happens, as I said earlier, is to surround yourself with those sorts of materials, sources, people, whether that's reading, whether that's Audible, whether that's people. I mean, I personally am in a number of different groups. You're one of them. We talk to each other a lot about different things. I have people who are in the same industry and actually different industries, but we all are trying to help each other. That's the thing, is that support network. I read a lot. I do Audible as well. I watch a lot. So I'm sort of immersed because I'm absolutely focused on what it is that I want to do or what I want to get to. So understanding that you immerse yourself helps a lot.
Absolutely. We've got a comment. We've got a comment here from Joellen. Hi, Joellen. Joellen says, I'm a great believer in visualizing much, much bigger, because it forces you to think differently. At Impact Factory, we talk about 10 times whatever the first thought is. I love that. 10 times the trainers, 10 times the income, 10 times the space. It isn't about achieving 10 times. It's about shifting pattern thinking. Absolutely. I love that. And so powerful. There's a guy on social media who talks about 10xing. Actually, there's 2 guys I follow. Both have their 10x product about 10xing your world. But it starts here, doesn't it? It really does start from what your drivers are, and the impact we can have is exponential. It goes back to that, doesn't it? It's exponential if we get that right in our own approach. So we got to keep moving, Tosh. So how to use goals to help you grow?
So I've got a thing about this, haven't I? Do you want me to talk about the pie, or do you want to go first?
You go. I've got my one. You've got your one. I love this.
So you know what? Rather than goals, I'm going to look at priorities. So what I realize is when you're looking at forecasting or you're looking at objectives, there's no point. Otherwise, you're going hand to mouth every single month. Let's do the deal. Let's hit a target. Right, we hit it. We didn't hit it, and then let's go to the next month. So what I'm suggesting is whatever your goal is, whether that's 3 months. I'll use the example of a 12-month objective. Right, a 12-month priority. What is that big thing you want to do within the next 12 months? What is that magic number? What is the product? What is the service? Whatever it is, let's just call it the pie, right? So we've got a pie. So that's our 12-month pie. What do we need to do in each quarter to be able to hit that pie? So you should have 3 plans, as in 1 for each quarter. What are we going to hit quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, all for that big pie? And let's call those the slices. Then what are you going to do each month to hit the quarter. So you need to have something diarized in terms of the activities every single month. What are we doing to hit the actual quarters? So let's call them the chunks of the pie, right? And then what are you going to do every single week? And then narrow it down to every single day. What 2 or 3 things are you going to do to achieve within the week, the 5-day week, to then achieve within that month, all with a view to hit the quarter, to hit the pie. So we're talking about the pie, chunks of the pie, slices of the pie, right down to the bites. That way, it comes down to looking in your diary and having some very clear, this is what I'm doing today, the 3 things I'm doing today, tomorrow, or this week to hit that big goal. Because you know what happens? We've all got those goals. We've all got those priorities, and then some other priority steps in the way and we just move everything aside. We firefight. I do it myself. But not when you've got those things not when you've got the bites of the pie in your diary in that way. That's what I'm doing at the moment with my personal experience. I
agree. And actually, we often lose sight of the bigger goal because we get pulled into whether it's firefighting or whether, it's us and our habits that may not lend themselves to this consistency. If everyone did what they decided to do on day one and did it consistently throughout, we wouldn't need strategy, we wouldn't need chairman, the structure of business would be completely different. But the fact is, as human beings, our behaviors are in place probably before we can even talk. They say by the time you're 5, your attitude, your approach, who you are going to be as an adult is formed. So our habits that get in the way of our success are in us, and so we have to work to build out of this. The goals, I agree. Really, it's knowing that when I spend that 1 hour on a task that really doesn't fulfill me, I realize that it's the ingredient to the bigger picture. And when you've got the clarity, that 1 hour becomes so important. And that's what this is about, is always being able to connect to that bigger goal, but in bite-sized chunks. And my sort of thought for this section was around how do you define your goals and how do you work out what's important. And one of these coaching sessions I had was around Steve Jobs and how did he get Apple to where he got it to? What a phenomenal story, the most successful business in the world. And apparently what Steve Jobs would do is he would say to his senior leadership, now go away, get a piece of paper and pen, nothing techie, and write down everything you think you need to do for the next quarter or however long. And they'd come back with lists and lists and lists, and you'd say, okay, now pick 3. And what you then do is you define your vital few. And once you've defined your vital few, then you throw everything else out the window, because if you get those 3 right, everything else will come from that. Because you can't have 10 goals. When you're doing those bite-sized bits of work every day and you're thinking, well, which bit is this for? It's going to get lost. And especially, how do you then share that with your senior team, your employees? How do you have everyone on the same page? You create the vital few and then you focus on that. So for me, when it comes to having goals to help you grow, it's making sure you really define those goals and they're not insurmountable.
By doing it that way, you differentiate between the urgent and the important. Because most people get lost with the urgent day-to-day stuff or other stuff you've got to do, or you get pulled from pillar to post. Yeah. But when you've got those things in there, when you clearly know that, as Meeta says, when you're clear that the little boring stuff that you don't want to do actually has a part to play in the bigger goal of getting your BHAG, your big or hairy or audacious goal, which is your 12-month or 3 years or whatever it is. You are committed. It's something you get up for every day. It's something you go to bed thinking about, because but when it's just this big vision thing, it's more like an idea. It's not really a vision if you're not mapping it out. If you're not doing the proper planning, and it can be, it sounds like it might be boring. It's not actually. When you really break it down, I'm talking about it now because it's quite fresh for me. I'm doing these things sort of nowish, which is why as soon as it came to me, I just wanted to kind of share it with everybody else. This is common sense, really, isn't it?
It is. And what we have, and something I do with my team, and we go out and we do strategy days for our clients, is that we help teams do their own goal setting and then break it down into daily or monthly, weekly, daily tasks so that everyone understands what their specific role is to the bigger picture. Because that then creates a team camaraderie. It then creates its own incentivizing approach, and everyone feels that what they do, that little bit of the bigger picture, is key. And we know that, but sometimes it gets lost when people are working. They just start to feel like an ant, but we know those ants my God, each and every one of them is important. So it really is important not only to go through this thinking yourself if you're a business leader or a manager, and if you want to talk to me about the process for that, it's really simple. We hold the days, or I've got a video on it that I can send you one of my masterclasses on how to run those strategy days for your people as well. Really powerful. And all the managing is done. You've set the scene, and then it's like, let's get on with it and do it. Not the managing. All the incentives, objectives, priorities are laid out in that one day. Then you've done the thinking. Let's get on with the doing. You have your touch points to check, are we on track? But then, if you know where you're going, you're going to end up a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. If you have no specific goal, you are not even going to be ballpark. So then that is empowering, isn't it? People think, I can do this. And it brings us to the action habit, which is if you feel motivated because you've got the definition and the clarity of what you're going for, naturally, you're going to want to do that daily approach or whatever that exercise is or whatever that hour is to achieve it. So I think it leads really well into the next section, which is the action habit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one more thing I wanted to say on that other point is, it's really just common sense. It's so obvious when you think about it. It's like just get in a car and drive without any purpose or point of view. It's that analogy really. But you're right. So and it leads to actions. No point talking about stuff. No point. Knowledge is not power. I mentioned that earlier. Execution is power. The solution is not what people want. It's the problem that it solves. That's what they actually want, not just the knowledge of it. How do you apply those things? That's why us in the service industry, why is it that people need to come to us? The information's out there. We're not saying anything that's not out there. We're not saying there's not one thought or thing that's coming out my mouth that isn't out there already or sourceable. What is different is my application of it. Same with you, Meeta. How do we apply it? We apply it and decipher it in a way that helps people to achieve whatever outcomes they're looking for. So what I'm saying is your actions is going to be the key to determining what it is. Don't just sit there talking about it. And sometimes, you know what? It's okay to not be 100% comfortable about something. Get on with it, because what happens is your actions start to create a momentum. And you know what? And a drive which will start to, and as I say, if you've already got yourself wired in a certain direction, your brains are you're programming your brain to start achieving what it is you want. Might not be immediately, but start taking action. Don't sit there overthinking it to death. Overthinking it's a killer.
Well, I think, again, it's about breaking down the bigger goal. And I think it's breaking down things into a journey. It's like a map, I joke about Dora the Explorer because the 3 kids growing up watching What a Day TV, Dora always had a map.
Your kids are too old for Dora the Explorer.
They are now, but that's how
you're watching it.
That's how imprinted it is, because watching that, obviously you've got one eye, on the business, and it's about, many people know their goals, they know where they are, but it's mapping the journey to success. And once you've got your slices and your chunks, actually the actions that you put in place are the things that are going to get you there, literally one foot forward after the other. And my take on this, and again, I've always believed in greatness. Greatness is one of our cornerstones of culture for our own organization, which is that whatever process people go through, any customer, external or internal, they walk away with a feeling of, wow, the customer experience is exceptional. But actually, for our own goals, breaking down the great big, the BHAG at the end, is about consistency. And actually, for me, my phrase, and probably the mantra I talk to myself about to make sure that I'm on track, is consistency over greatness. Because if I know what my BHAG is, I can then start to just get through each day. Yes, I have my weekly, monthly checkpoints, but just do what I know I need to do. Be consistent. Do a little bit every day. Don't leave it till a Friday. I try to make my Monday a day and a half, because then I know I'm ahead. And just feeling ahead, I feel more motivated to want to keep going. And that is my consistency, so feeling that you're on track. So just be consistent, don't have 10 things to do. I did a time management course this week where we talked about, how many things do you put on your absolutely non-essential, non-negotiable list? And people were putting 5 to 10. It's like, well, how many do you get done? Usually 5. So how do you feel? Oh, I don't feel like I did that great. Well, okay, what would happen if you put 5, achieved 5? Would it change anything in the outcomes? No. How would you feel then? I'd feel great. So actually be kind to yourself. Give yourself achievable targets, and you'll want to do them consistently every day. And actually, when you look back at your consistency, you will have achieved far more than if you were doing an all or nothing approach. So
there was something I was talking to you before we started the recording for this webinar, and it was I didn't say this actual quote with you, Meeta, but it was an Elon Musk thing, and it was if you want to take 3 days to clean your house, it'll take 3 days. If you decide you're going to take 3 hours to clean your house, it's going to take 3 hours.
Funny that,
I told you I attended this course recently, and in the course, the outcome of it was do something in 30 days that'll take you 3 months. So when you
was it?
Say again.
That was an objective. Do something in 30 days that you.
Yeah. So I've had this BHAG for a while. The big hairy audacious goal, and so I decided to commit to what I would have done in 3 months. I'm going to do in the next 30 days. And how do I do that? By doing the pie I just told you about. Having a really clear, detailed plan of action for every day, to every week, to the month, all the rest of it. But now I'm doing it in 1 month rather than 3 months. And how am I doing that? It's the action habit. I'll do. I know we're using the phrase 10x. I'm doing 10 times as much. Now it's a lot of heavy lifting in a short space of time. You know what I'm really surprised about is what I'm capable of. I know my limits and I keep exceeding them. And it's a really great confidence booster. Absolutely.
I timetable myself like a toddler. This is what I say to people when I do time management. This is what and actually, I timetable my to-dos and I timetable my rest periods as well, because then I own them. And as we said it right at the start, I took last week not just to decompress, but actually to experiment, to actually really see what it feels like to not be in my work. And actually, I know I was working on my business, and because it's always going on in the background, most of our thinking is done subconsciously. So I knew that actually I trusted in the process. And actually, when you trust your diary, you trust your actions because you've thought about what the long-term goal is and you put those times in, then you're so present in the work you're doing as well. And your time spent is just so much more impactful. So you're absolutely right. We set our own limits. We set our own limitations. And so by timetabling, what you're doing is, again, you take the thinking out of it and then you get into the doing. And then you reflect. You reflect once. Like I was saying about the 10-minute planning thing every day. I want to try and do that to see what it actually brings, So
I've got no checklists now. I'm conscious of the time. I saw you look down at time yourself. I know that look at the time. I've stopped using checklists, Meeta. If it's in the diary, it gets done. If something gets in the way, it gets done still. Maybe later in the day, but it'll get done. You make a promise to yourself and the commitment to get the job done, because that BHAG is big and hairy enough that you want to get it done. So I think that's it. So I'm really conscious we've got about a minute to talk about leadership, like a massive topic. Okay, go for it, Meeta. How to think like a leader. You know what a leader means? It means you've got followers. What are you doing with them? How do you think like a leader?
I can only talk about my own journey with this. And I really knew that there are things that I'm good at. And to be a leader of a business and an owner and to bring my people along on the journey, I needed to evolve. I started off in finance. I was a financial controller. My job was to not only manage the numbers of the organization, but to help my organization grow by giving them advice on where to put that money. I was a bit of a strategic and commercial finance person. But when I became managing director and then ultimately the owner of the organization, I realized even as an MD, my job is to manage what's already there. As a CEO and a leader, my job shifted from not telling, but actually facilitating and enabling. And to do that, I needed to understand my strengths. I needed to understand what I stood for. I needed to bring my authentic self to my work, because you know what, leaders, the higher up you get in your role, the bigger your voice is. And somebody taught me this, actually, Denise Walker. She was my trainer when I bought the business, and she trained me and everyone in the business. We peeled back the onion of the organization, and we put it back layer by layer and created a training program, again, the scaling approach. And she said that the higher up you are in an organization, the louder your voice. So you may say something and the impact it has is 10x. It's to really think about, as a leader, what message you're putting out there, and not just the voice, but your body language. I'm sure Tosh, when you worked for someone and your boss walked through the office and you looked and they were down and they were gruff, and you knew this isn't going to be a good day. Whereas as a leader, you have the power to make or break your team, to really think about the impact you're having. But it all starts from within. And really, the way you take what you stand for and what's important to you as a business leader and you put that out to your people is by having that clarity of the journey, the big, hairy, audacious goal, share it with your people, and then have a culture, have an alignment that everyone is on the same page. I talk about the boat, everyone facing in the same direction, rowing in unison. That if you can facilitate that, then you are leading your people to greatness. That for me it was the shift.
I would say 2 sentences on that, again, because of the time, really. One is I see a bit like, without sounding patronizing about it, a bit like a parent, which is I don't teach them what to think, I teach them how to think. And that really means understanding. I love what you said there about facilitating, you know. It as a parent's job, what is our job as a parent? It isn't just to mold them into something or other, it's to help them to become something, but actually to help them to understand things and become independent in their own right, become leaders themselves. So it's the same thing with our people. If it's not, then you're going to be the one that keeps getting your fingers in your nose and everything. You're just not going to grow. You're just not going to get to where you want to. You're going to keep yourself with a busy job. So that's what I would say. I think our job is to teach them not what to think, how to think. That's what makes other leaders as well as yourself, right?
Absolutely. So I think we're going to have to tie it up. This God, we just touched on a subject, as we said, could be a whole week of conversation, but it's been great. I hope everyone who's attended today has enjoyed and appreciated the different approach to our Q&A sessions. I have to say, Tosh, I'm so excited by the poll results because we have got attitude at 60%, we have got cultural fit at 20%, and we've got skills at 20%. And I tell you why that excites me is that for the last 20 years that we've been in business, and if anyone who's known us for that long might even be able to refer back to some of our marketing material, because we always said that success is 80% mindset, attitude, and fit, and 20% skills. And everyone in the room feels the same way. So it's good to know that we're all on the same page.
So everybody, in case you wanted as a last, obviously come join us next week. It's going to be super, super helpful next week. I can't tell you enough. You know, if you're having people problems in terms of recruitment or finding the right people, join us. And here's that book again that we based our little discussion on. Get it on Audible, you know, listen to it while you're brushing your teeth, or order it from Amazon. I mean, a really fantastic book. It's one of my favorites. So hopefully that helps people with what we're talking about today. Indeed. Thank you very much. And Meeta, good to have you back. It's not the same without you. Don't do it again, right?
I might, but it won't be for a long time. It's great to be back. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Tosh. Take care.
Bye-bye. See you next week.